Alright, in this video I'm going to show you how to make a scatter plot both by hand and also using the graphing calculator. So let's say I have a set of variables, hours studied versus the score on a test. So scatter plots is a way of displaying data with two variables. So looking at our x and y axes, I'm going to go ahead and draw that. And I'm going to look for my minimum and my maximum. I'm going to do a sketch as opposed to every single point exactly where they belong. So on my x-axis I have hours studied, and on my y-axis I have the score on my test. So the first thing that I'm going to do is look at my minimum. My minimum is 1, and because it's so close to 0, I'm going to go ahead and leave it that. If this were like 500, I would probably do a little break here and put the number 500, and we'll see that along the y-axis. So I know I'm going to go up to 3.7, so I'm just going to mark it off 1, 2, 3, 4, because that's going to encompass all my x values. Now I'm going to look at the score on the test. The smallest value that I have on the test is a 63. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and just put a break here, letting the reader know that there's a jump here that's happening from 0 to 60. And now I'm going to go 60, and because I don't have a whole lot of scores in between, I'm probably going to go in increments of 5. So 60, 65, 70, 75, 80, oh, and I'm going to run out of room, 85, 90. Right? So now I'm just going to do a quick sketch of this. 1 and 63 is about there, 1.5 and 70, 2 and 75, 3 and 80, 3.2 and 86, and 3.7 and 90. So if we can kind of see this scatter plot, it appears to be linear. And if I want to go ahead and describe it, I would describe exactly what I would see. So what do I see? There is it looks pretty tight, so I'm going to call that a strong. If it weren't, I would call it a weak, or maybe somewhere in between, it would be moderately strong. So there is a strong, it's going up, so I'm going to say positive. If it were going down, I would say negative. The type of graph that I see is a linear graph as opposed to an inverse graph, an exponential graph, a quadratic graph. But because this makes a line, I'm going to say linear. So there is a strong positive linear. There's a strong positive linear what? Relationship between these two variables. So linear relationship between hours studied and score on test, or test scores. And that's how you describe a scatter plot. Now let's say I gave you a large data set. You're not going to want to do this by hand. So one of the things that you can do is use a graphing calculator. So just like before, we're going to go into Stat, we're going to go into Edit, and you're going to put your variables in List 1 and List 2. Once your variables are in there, we want to see it. So that stores your data. Now in order to see the data, we're going to go second y equals. Okay. And that takes you to the stat plot. You're going to want to turn your stat plot on and make sure that you're pulling from list 1, list 2. Make sure you're choosing the scatter plot. And once all that is set, in order to see it, the way I like to use it is to get my graph is I hit zoom and then I hit the number 9. And that gives me a nice scatter plot. So I'm going to go ahead and do that for you right now. Zoom 9. And you'll get something like that on your curve, or on your graph, right there. So you can kind of see, it kind of mirrors what I have up there. Not perfectly, but again, it's a sketch. So that's what you're going to want to do when you get that for a large data set.